we have done 3 out of 5 sessions that we have planned for anthropology, and the remaining 2 sessions are related to paper 2. If you can recollect, in the very first session we have discussed that anthropology optional has 2 papers, paper 1 and paper 2. If you all remember, the paper 1 was related to general theory or world level anthropology, whereas paper 2 is the theoretical aspect applied to Indian context or Indian society. So paper 2 will be dealing with Indian anthropology. And we also saw that paper 2 itself has 2 components, that Indian society and tribal societies. And now you might as well ask a question here, are tribals different from Indian society, or are they part of Indian society? They are definitely a part of Indian society. They are Indians as good as you and I are. But why are we studying them separately from Indian society then? It's just because though the tribals are an integral part of Indian society, they have a distinct culture, a distinct way of life from the mainstream Indian society. That is the reason we need to study them separately. And why do they have this different culture is mainly because of the way their history has gone. The mainstream Indian society has gone in one direction, though the tribal society was constantly in touch, interacting with the mainstream Indian society, they still retained their independent cultural identity. That's the reason why we study tribal societies separately and Indian society separately. Fine. And today's session will be on the Indian society, with the last and the 5th session, which is going to come on 20th, will be related to the tribal society. Okay. So let me begin the session for today. As usual, I have again divided the today's discussion into 3 segments. 1, we will have a brief introduction or about what is Indian society or what we will study in Indian society. Second, once you get a basic idea, I will take you all to the syllabus and map out the relevant chapters and the order in which they have to be studied. And finally, I will also discuss 2 questions from the previous years, as we have been doing in the other sessions. The same structure I will follow here. Fine. So now, without much delay, let us enter into the first segment, where I will try to give you all a brief idea about what we will study in Indian society. Okay, let us go in. For you all to understand and appreciate about Indian society, first thing that we need to understand or we need to know is Indian geography. We need to see 1 or 2 points about Indian geography, which played a key role in shaping Indian history and Indian society. Okay, just have a look at this map. What you have here on the slide is, the screen is the physical map of Asia. Okay, as you can see there. I really do not want to go into the details of this map as of now, which will be done in the class, but only want to give you a brief point here. When you will come into the syllabus, you will start understanding the different courses. When you study about geography, you will get to know that if you will see, this portion is generally categorized as West Asia. And if you will see, Saudi Arabia and all these areas, even a common man knows that they're all desert areas. They're deserts. Okay. And if you'll also see that any latitude above this region, above Delhi portion, Jammu Kashmir, you can understand how cold these areas will be. Is it easy for humans to live in these areas? I hope you can understand. It's very, very cold in these areas. That is, northern Asia and central Asia is really not suitable for human habitation because of the cold climates. And in cold climates, you cannot do much agriculture. So in this part of the world, it's really, really difficult for people to live. What you can expect there, you can only expect people living in a tribal stage of life. You cannot expect a great civilization to flourish in this kind of climates. Now, take over the West Asia. To some extent also, most of these areas are deserts, and again, are not very suitable for human habitation. And now, try to compare these areas with India. You will see India, first of all, look at the map there, it's all green. That is, most of it is plain area, a lot of plains. The Indus plains, the Ganga plains, and several other rivers are there in India. They provide abundant availability source of water, and the climate is not as cold as it's there in the other parts of Asia. It's moderate climates are there here. So obviously, what is happening, and why am I trying to tell all this? It's to show you that the favorable conditions available in India acted as an attracting element for people living in other parts of Asia, drawing them towards it. That is, in the favorable geography of India, the conditions, we have moderate climates, perennial rivers, and good terrain, availability of forests, and all these things have attracted people. It acted as a magnet. It started attracting people. And this is not once Indian history. Once you start studying the course, you will see that it is not one, but several migrations have happened. With every few years, after every several generations, you will find a new set of people coming into the country. They come and come and come, and while they come, they are going to bring their own cultures, their own way of life, their own beliefs. And as the history was unfolding in Indian history, you will see that different people have come, they have settled down, they mixed with the previous people who have already come earlier, and another wave comes, another people come, they also mix with them, and that is, you'll see, each group that is coming in the country is contributing a new dimension to Indian culture, evolution of Indian culture and civilization. A new culture, yes, that is also being absorbed, that is also being added to Indian culture. As a result, even today, if you'll find, there is no country in the entire world which has the level of diversity that you find in this part of the world. No other country. And that you might have also heard this, India is often called a subcontinent, right? And the main reason is not only physical reason there, not only the geographical reason. The point is here, the amount of racial, that is biological, cultural, linguistic, religious diversity that is generally found on a continental level, you can find that level of continental diversity in one country. And how did this diversity come? As I said, geography, the favorable geography was attracting people year after year, after generations, people are coming in. Everyone is adding a new flavor to Indian civilization. I hope the point is becoming clear. And this, today, the Indian population, now you try to understand why is it, who are we all? We are all a part of Indian society. Where do we derive our culture and tradition from? They are coming from these ages. They are coming from ages, and you can see all these diverse populations that are inhabiting the country now are the descendants of the people who have been pouring since ages. Fine. Now let me take you one more step further and see who are these people who came. When did they come? Who were these people? What was their culture? And what was their contribution towards Indian society? Once I do this, you will have a broad understanding about what is Indian society. Okay. Let me go on to the next slide. Fine. As I just now said, different people have been coming. Let us now see who were these people. And the first set of people who started coming to India, I'll say the earliest people who started coming to India. These people were not a highly civilized people. Obviously, here, human evolution was in the very beginning stages of evolution. Okay. Obviously, these people were the Stone Age people. Stone Age. You will study in the course Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, Chalcolithic, such people. They are still not a very advanced society. They are still using stones as the tools, raw materials for making their tools. And in this stage, some of them, of all the societies which were living in India, they came into India from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. Every part of the country you find people there. They are living in Stone Age. Some of them slightly became advanced and they entered into the Bronze Age. Metals, they started using metals. And this will be nothing but the Indus Valley civilization that you will study. Okay. Just a very, very brief overview. I cannot go into the depths. This is just an orientation session. Other things will be taken up in the classroom. These were the earliest people. After them, you will find a new group of people coming into India. who called themselves as Aryans. And these people had their own culture, which we generally call as the Vedic culture, because our knowledge about these people comes from the books they have written called Vedas. And from that, reading those books, historians are able to understand who these Aryans were, what was their lifestyle, what was their culture. And eventually it happens that these people, you will see that today the majority population in India belong to the religion of Hinduism. And who are these Hindus? Where did this Hinduism come? The ideological roots, the philosophical roots of the modern Hinduism lie in the Vedic culture of the Aryans. Most of you should be aware about this fact, yes? And that is, when I say these people who came into India and their culture has become the basis for modern Hinduism. And these people represent the majority of Indian population. You can understand how important this phase of Indian history would be. Yes. Now, so gradually Aryans came, they settled down, they brought their own culture, Vedic culture, which slowly over a period of time developed, changed and became modern Hinduism. And maximum number of people in India today are belonging to this religion. Fine. But now, can I call these people who came before Aryans, can I call them non-Aryans to some extent? Yes, because they were before Aryans, you can call them non-Aryans or pre-Aryans. Non-Aryans. No need to get into the debate of Dravidians, Aryans, that is really not necessary from an academic point of view. That is a headache of the historians and archaeologists. They will fight over that. We want to become administrators. We look at from an academic point of view. For us, this much is sufficient, that they were the non-Aryans, they had their own cultures. Later on the Aryans come, they bring their own culture, which eventually became the dominant culture in the country, and they form the majority population of Indian society. But there were certain problems in this culture. As you will be studying in the course, we will see that caste system, there were some discriminatory practices. It's not, again, discrimination is not specific to caste system. Discrimination is something which is found across the entire world. Every society there is one form or other type of discrimination keeps going on. Same way, here also there was some sense of discrimination between these people and the newcomers. There will be some clashes, discrimination is natural. So there was some reaction against this Vedic culture, and you will find a reaction against it. And some of you might have guessed what is that reaction. Obviously, new religions were born, and which we know as Buddhism and Jainism. Again, these cultures, these ideologies, this new way of life added a new dimension, can I say? Yes. Don't you think Aryan culture was also affected by them? Definitely Aryan culture or Vedic culture will be affected by Buddhist and Jainist culture also. Okay. So now you have non-Aryan culture, next Aryan culture, Vedic culture, then you have Buddhism, you have Jainism. I hope you are able to see the diversity already we are finding here. Yes. And now, over a period of time, there is a kind of competition going on between Hinduism and Buddhism, Jainism. Both of these religions are trying to compete to bring more and more people into their own religion. Eventually, it happened that Buddhism and Jainism remained a minority religions. For various reasons that we will see in the classroom. They remained minority religions, and for various reasons Hinduism was able to, or the Brahmanical culture, Vedic culture brought by the Aryans was able to expand, and these people could not have much impact. They will have an impact, but in the race, in the competition, Hinduism took an edge and it went ahead. And you will study, when you study your history, you will see that these two segments, these two areas you will study as part of, you can write somewhere, these two you will study as part of ancient India. When in your history course you will study that, ancient India. Fine. And now, as this is happening inside the country, a new set of people are going to come now, the Muslims. Islam is another set of people who are coming. Their culture is different, their languages are different, and now these people come into India and they are going to rule the country for several hundreds of years, obviously, as a result of which the Indian society is again being enriched by another dimension, a different dimension, completely altogether a different dimension. And now this you will study as part of medieval India. And for several centuries, these two communities, Hindus and Muslims, to some extent, though there were clashes because there are some differences between these two cultures, there were clashes undoubtedly, but still, over a period of time, with the rise of good leaders like Akbar and all, there was a kind of a coexistence that has evolved, and a kind of a composite culture, which is neither strictly Hindu, nor Buddhist, nor Muslim. It's a kind of a mixture of all these cultures was evolving. Over all this, when we come to finally, we see that towards the 18th century, India fell into the hands of the British rule. Now the British people come, they rule India for nearly 200 more years, and they bring their own culture, their own values, and all of this again started affecting Indian culture and became a part of Indian society. And there you will see the Christianity is come into India. So no other country in the world can boast the diversity that we have here in our country. It's like you'll see all the major religions have been depicted here. So this you will study as part of modern India. Okay. But what is the difference between history and anthropology then? In history, you will study the same timeline, but from a political history point of view, where that is kings, battles, and their kingdoms, empires. These are what you will study in history. But when it comes to anthropology, Indian society, you see the term Indian society, you study the same things, but not from a top view, not from the point of view of kings and kingdoms and empires, but from the changes that are happening in the social level, on the common people, what is happening to the women, what is happening to the caste system. These are all what we will discuss here. Fine. I hope you are all getting a basic idea as to what Indian society is, what we will study. Now how we will study, you will simply start studying about these people first. Now, before I do that, I would like you all to open your syllabus sheets and just look into and try to see if these are falling in place with the syllabus or no. You just open your syllabus and you can see there. Let me come to the second aspect of today's discussion. Please open your syllabus. You will see later on, this is how we need to cover the syllabus. These are the chapters. After a long research, I will say that of all the 4 components that you find in anthropology, this component is the most badly organized section of syllabus. That is, Indian society portion of the syllabus is not organized so neatly as the other parts have been organized. So there is a need for changing the order rather than studying simply the way in which the syllabus is given. That will not give you a correct idea. But if you can study in this order, you will have a better idea about command over the Indian society component. Okay, you can just later on you can take a snapshot or write down these points there. If you can look at this, I am trying to map these points with this timeline. Okay, you can just have a look. In 1.1, this is related to non-Aryans. That is, what was happening in India before Aryans came is written in 1.1 roughly. Okay, there you will find the Stone Age and Indus Valley civilization. All these things you will find it here. Next, obviously it was Aryans who came to India. You will see in 3.1, 3.2, leave the second chapter. 1.2, 1.3, I am writing it here, we will see it later. 2 also I have left it later, we will see. After this you can come to 3.1 and 3.2. Here if you will observe the syllabus, you will see that they are talking about caste system, Varna system and all these things, which are nothing but elements of Aryan culture, the Vedic culture. Okay, because after non-Aryans, Aryans came. So in 3.1, 3.2 you will study that. And now along with 3.1, 3.2 you also have to study these two, 5.1 and 5.3. Why? If you just look at the syllabus, you will see that 5.1 talks about Indian village system, Indian villages. If I ask you a question, in which part of the country, whether in cities or villages, where do you find the caste system in greater intensity? Obviously your answer will be villages. Yes, because in cities, at least I'm not saying it's gone, it is lesser. In the villages you will find the caste system. And if you want to study how the caste system is functioning today, it's better you go to the villages and see there, and that is what you will study in 5.1. And finally, in 5.3, you will study that some changes are happening in Indian society also. And the majority population being Hindus, I am putting all of these points in one line. Okay, because they are related. Once you go back home after the video, you can just try to match these two things. You will understand the logic. Why am I giving it this way? And then we come to 3.4, 3.3 again I left it later. After 3.2, this you come to 3.4. Here you will study that it is Buddhism, Jainism, Islam and Christianity. The other segments of Indian population. You can just look at the syllabus later on also. Impact of Buddhism, Jainism, Islam and Christianity on Indian society. Obviously everyone came, they added their own cultural elements, but they remained a minority. They are a minority, but still they added some aspects to Indian culture. That we will study here. And 5.2 is again related to the minorities in India. Again the Buddhists, Jains, Islam, Muslims and Christians, all of these things will be discussed in 5.2. So you can study these two aspects again together. Fine. So that is the basic history that we have just now seen. Now on all these aspects, who gave the knowledge to us? Obviously some scholars would have worked on Indian society, they would have understood, they have seen the history, they have understood all this, they have built concepts, they have made theories. Obviously that is, this all this knowledge, who gave this knowledge? Obviously many scholars were working behind. They were going to villages, they are studying the villages, they are studying the old texts. And that's how they are able to give us all this knowledge. And in the 4th chapter, we are going to study about the anthropologists, both the British anthropologists and the Indian anthropologists who have given all of these concepts to us. And 3.3, here you will find two words, sacred complex and nature man spirit complex. These are nothing but are concepts given by an Indian anthropologist by name L.P. Vidyarthi, which will be covered when you are studying under 4th chapter. So that's the reason I club 3 into 4th chapter. It's 3.3 into 4th chapter itself. And finally, coming down to 2nd chapter, you will find this is the demographic profile of India. It's nothing but today you take a overview about Indian population from top to bottom. You will see entire India. You will try to understand which are the different races, that is biologically different people. You will see Northeast people, they look like one way. You go to Andamans, they look in different way. Again the mainstream Indians, again they look differently. So the racial diversity, that is ethnic diversity or different ethnic groups in India, and also you will see people different, they speak different languages. So you will also study linguistic groups, different linguistic elements in India. All such aspects are studied in the 2nd chapter. You will also study about the population structure, how it is growing, what are the measures needed for controlling the Indian population growth, and all these things will be done in the 2nd chapter. And 1.2, 1.3 are very, very short chapters. 1.2 will be studied as part of biological evolution that you will study in paper 1, where here you will find names like Rama Pitakas, Siva Pitakas, Narmada man, etc. These are nothing but the fossils of humans and pre-humans who were found in India as a part of, this is only one portion, biology portion in paper 2, and it's, I can see as only was very, very short component. This will be generally covered in paper 1 itself. In relation to paper 1 it will be covered. And finally 1.3 is related to archaeology, ethno-archaeology, which will be again studied as part of the 1.1. You can generally link it with there. Fine. So this is how you need to study about Indian society. You need to look into the interrelations, and this is the order in which, I'm not saying this is the only order, but from my point of view, yes, this will be more logical. Okay. Now let me come to the last segment of the discussion, where I'll take 2 questions and I'll end the day. You can see here, this were the 2 questions which I picked from last year question paper 2019 and 2019, both are 2019. Identify the theoretical concepts, that have emerged out of village studies in India. This is coming from the chapter 5.1, but it's a very beautiful question framed in a very nice way. Is asking you, it's not asking about village studies. While studying the Indian villages, did the thinkers, the anthropologists, did they come out with some new concepts? Yes, they came out with a lot of concepts. You will study. What you will need to do here is, see the question is asking you, Identify. Just tell me what are those concepts. You on the fingertips, you can just check the syllabus later on. If you come to 3.1 or 3.2, you will find the point called dominant caste. That is one concept. Then you can find a concept called Jajmani system. Again in 3.1 and 3.2 you will find that. Later on you will also find many other concepts like modernization, westernization. Different concepts have come out. Tribe caste continuum. All are these concepts which, while studying Indian society, the anthropologists were able to see so many things that are happening and they gave names to them, and these are the concepts that we find them. You will have to select different concepts. The person who gave that concept, write a few points about that concept, the positives and negatives, and that's it, is the answer. And finally, coming to the next question, discuss the impact of media on social life of Indian villages. Again here you will find the village system. Why are we focusing so much on village? Yes, the traditional system is still practiced in India in the villages. The more you study about the villages, the more you study about India's past. Fine. And again you will discuss some positive impacts, some negative impacts, and then you can wind up the answer. Fine. With this, I hope I have been successful in giving you all a basic overview about the Indian society part, and I look forward to meeting you all in the last session, which will come on 20th, which will be related to the tribal anthropology. Thank you so much.